This week in comic books, we get Superman Lost. Number 2 came out. We finally found out what made him lost, right? And we also learned that aliens are jerks. Over in the land of Marvel, we got Fantastic Four. And I'm going to tell you why it is legit the smartest comic book that is out there right now. If you got kids, get them into Fantastic Four on this current run. I'm going to tell you why. And last but not least, in the lands of independence, we get 8 billion genies. I read the final issue without reading any of the other stories. And I'm going to tell you what I thought about that last issue. That and a boatload of other comic books. But allow me to play a satirical advertisement for Coffee Brand Coffee real quick. What's going on, you weirdos? With the current band of Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch products out there, I know a lot of you are about to get really sober and probably cranky. So please consider Coffee Brand Coffee. Use promo code POCANJOE, save yourself a little bit of money, go in there and get yourself some flavors. Check out the reviews and let me know what you think. Coffee Brand Coffee. It's not Bud Light. All right, you bunch of weirdos. Let's jump into this week's comic book haul and review. What did we pick up? What did we get? And what did we think of it? Here we go. Let's start off with the only DC book I got this week, and that is Superman Lost, number 2. In this issue, we finally found out what happened to Superman. Like, where did he go? In the first one, we just kind of, he was gone, right? And Jonathan Kent was like trying to save his dad or whatever. In this one, we find out that there was a singularity that Superman was involved in, and it shoot him across space and time into unknown reaches, maybe even dimensional. Didn't really specify in that, but what we found out is that aliens out there are all about that cash money, right? As they were trying to save Superman, and he couldn't pay them, so they dumped him off on some weird planet that has a very weird economic structure to it. It's a dystopian on one side, and then like utopian on the other. Obviously, there's a big disparity between the two people on the planet. Let's see where this goes, because he got some resources and he's back out in space trying to find his way home. So, kind of like an Odysseus type story, I would imagine it being. But I'm really enjoying it. Love the artwork in it. Great action scenes, great dialogue. Yes, this was an enjoyable read for me this week, and I look forward to more of it as we go through. Next, we got Gardens of the Galaxy #1. We got Scotty Young cover. Wife wanted, if you've viewed this channel before, you know my wife loves her Scotty Young covers. So I try to get them for her because it justifies me being in the habit and it keeps my wife happy, right? It's all about home economics at that point. But what do we got here? We got a Western, right? A Western seems to be the thing right now that everybody's kind of gearing on, this kind of space spaghetti Western type stories, and this is no different. In this one, we got the original cast of the Gardens of the Galaxy minus Rocket and Groot, and they're trying to save people from a town because a phenomenon of Groot, or I don't want to say God, but it's like he's a storm in it, right? And we don't know why. They didn't really explain that, but they're trying to get him out here, and they're really in this first issue are just trying to set up this kind of tense moment to get you hooked to find out what's going on. And of course, Rocket's nowhere to be found, even though he's on the cover. But hopefully we'll get some more information on that as we go through this. So you got all your classics in it, the one-liners, the one-hits, the satire to it. It was enjoyable. It was a good read. After last week, I feel like I need to say exactly what books were good this week, because last week I didn't have a whole lot of good things to say. All right, next, Ewoks. This was only a matter of time, right? Because we've been getting so much Star Wars stuff, and everybody's like, "What about the Savage Care Bears?" Right? Like, what's going on over on the the moon of Endor over there? So we got it, right? We find 3 stories in here in an anthology, no verbiage in it, right? It's just pictures because they speak Ewok language. I don't know what you would call them in a plural sense. Ewokian language. We're gonna go with that. In here, you get 3 short stories. One's your typical Romeo and Juliet type of story. 2 species that live on this planet. Obviously, the families don't get along. Whatever. The next one's kind of a horror story where it doesn't have a happy ending. We'll just put it that way. And the last one is somebody's aspirations to shoot to the stars, so they rebuild a imperial spaceship to go. What's interesting about this is it's the same Ewok from the original Ewok that hung the tethered line to kind of trip up a stormtrooper who was chasing him down from the movie. You all remember that? He kind of boop, boop, right? I thought that was an interesting little nugget in there that they kind of threw. An Easter egg, I think is what we call them now. So I thought that was fun. I think it's interesting. Will I be picking up more of this? Probably not. I don't need a whole lot of picture books. Um, but it was just kind of cool to see the Ewoks again in Star Wars and kind of interacting with all this new Star Wars stuff that's coming out. Who knows? It's only a matter of time before we see something on Disney or we'll see the Ewoks again. Okay. Next, Silver Surfer, Ghostlight number 3. So this is, oh my god, this is like the worst case scenario, right? So Al, our guy here on the cover, comes back to life thanks to his niece and nephew. And in there's coming back, they kind of got infected with these little nanobots that's inside of him that he can kind of control. So the kid's eyes start glowing, and he's like, I can take care of this. Magic woo woo, science woo woo. And, he tells the kids they're better, right? He absolutely, positively lies to them. He just kind of keeps them dormant, right? I don't think that's a horrible thing to do. But while all this is going on, we got the stranger over in his dimension who wants Al back because he's been imprisoned with him for a while now. And apparently they're trying to show that he has these kind of multiple personalities living inside of him because one's trying to help Al defeat himself, right? And then we also got AIM. AIM is a research facility, right, with a paramilitary unit to it as well. And they're involved too, right? Because if something major happens, right, a government agency has to step in, right? And they're the bad guys in this case. All in all, I was really liking where this was going, but now I'm kind of just fading out of it. Speaking of lying, Moon Knight. So this story mostly focuses on Tigress, right? Who's been working with Mark Spector, Moon Knight, for a while now, and it's a lie to justify a lie in here. Again, this lying thing, I don't know. So there's a character running around named Midnight, and Midnight's stealing things and getting involved in things. Well, it's Mark Spector, right? It's one of the personalities of Moon Knight that gets involved, and he's been lying to Tigress about it because she wants to find out who it is, so she goes on the hunt, whatever that means, to find this person. Finds out it's Mark Spector, and then dresses him up and down about how he's a liar and she can't stand the lying, and then comes clean about this long-lived lie that she's been telling that her son is actually the father of her child is not actually who we've been told it has been. It's actually somebody else. So right? The scales, like, you lied to me. How dare you? By the way, I've been lying. Like, I don't really. Yeah, I'm not cool with that. That's kind of, I don't know. Also, I don't know what this thing is about single mothers in comic books lately. We tried this with Spider-Woman, and they were okay reads, but like every issue was an inundation of how she's a single mother. She's a single mother. She's a single mother. She can't trust anybody. She can't, like, it just kept on and on and on. And I'm really hoping Moon Knight doesn't take this direction. I don't find that particularly interesting. Being something, right, doesn't automatically make you top tier of something. Does that make sense? Like let's say, a great example. I do things in my evil lair where I make things, right? But I'm not like a top tier engineer. I'm a backyard engineer at best. At best, I'm a backyard engineer. So just giving yourself a title doesn't automatically give you status. It's what you do inside of those things that make you good. And she seemed like a pretty basic mother to me in all this. So I'm not really sure where they're trying to take this to make it more than what it is. That's kind of a hard take, and I apologize if that hurts anybody's feelings out there, but the reality is the reality. You're not born into greatness. You do great things for greatness, right? That's, or at least, I don't know, my naive notion of that, I would hope. All right, next. Smartest comic book out there, no doubt about it. Fantastic Four. In this, you get some great, just baseline scientific stuff. Like, what happens if the sun went away for a little bit? Would the world just freeze automatic? Well, no, because our core is heated, right? It's molten magma, right? Right, we know this through volcanoes and stuff, so it wouldn't like be a quick transition. They kind of explain that in here, and they also go over a great psychological phenomenon from Carl Jung as well, and how bacteria moves, and how an invasive species of plant can actually take over like something as simple as a pond, and they put it all in this nice little package right here. Three great forms of science delivered to you in an entertaining way. Oh my god. We're on issue 6 right now. The last three issues have been just solid foundational stuff that you may have forgotten from your schooling, and there's quick reminders in here too. And it's a great way to take real science, not woo woo, but real science, and compact it and throw it in here for you, and even the ramifications of it, because sometimes people don't understand why bad things lead to good things. So in this one, the bacteria from the other dimension is taking over. They have to kill it. They can't torch everything in the world, but algae and things like that are very heavily reliant on sunlight. So over an area, you block out the sun for a little bit. What happens? People start losing their minds, right? They start getting angry. They don't like this bad thing that's happening to them, not understanding it's actually for the good, and actually start protesting in it. And of course, the government gets involved in this one as well, where they're like, hey, you can't just do that, even if it saved everybody's life, yada, yada, yada. I like it. I think it's a good representation of sometimes people, especially those people that say follow the science and don't really understand it. Science is not a convenient thing, in no means and in no form is it the most convenient answer out there. Science, evolution, things growing, this kind of stuff takes time over a period of time. It's not an easy overnight solution, it by no means. And I think Fantastic Four just delivered that to people in a bite-sizable way. So definitely, if you haven't been picking it up, very rarely do I recommend a comic book. Comment down below if you're reading this. What did you get out of it? I definitely want to know. All right, next, going into indies. So, the Masterverse. So, again, we're kind of dealing with this. Is the whole He-Man thing, is this something we really need? And here we get 3 more stories like we've been getting before. This one was a little bit more lackluster for me. It wasn't as entertaining as the other ones. It just seemed like hey, He-Man exists, but he really exists because of his friends, right? Tila was featured in here. Superman's friend, or not Superman, but He-Man's friends are kind of more highlighted in this one. With still this kind of conversion of going back and forth of, is a keynote of He-Man really a necessity in the universe, where the sorcerer says yes, and the Zodiac's like, I'm about balance. It doesn't really matter if it's a yes or a no. What's the balance of it all? And I really like that. That's very, I don't know why, but that makes me happy. that argument can still happen, even if you sit there and compliment consistently of how good He-Man is. Doesn't that skew the scale some? Right? Because, right, we're talking about even. Right? Good or bad. I don't know. I'm kind of curious where they're going to end this, even though I didn't find this issue particularly fascinating to me. I really am more focused on the narrative of the story, more than just, hey, check this He-Man out in this type of universe. Last but not least, all right, so I got this weird book here. And I know people were losing their minds when this book first came out. There was variants of it. There was all kinds of hubbubaloo all over Instagram for it. People were just buying this up. I don't know if you're still on this book and you've read all this through. I definitely want to hear from you down in the comments down below. But it's 8 billion Genies. There was 1 copy left. I hadn't read a single bit of this yet, and I picked up this one. What I'm surrounding, or what I'm kind of focusing on in here, is that this book kind of focuses around this number 8 billion. 8 billion people on the planet. There was some talk of 8 billion people worldwide, that it would be too much for the world to be able to resource, right? I remember that being a discussion some years ago. I'm guessing that's what the preface it is here. And there's these little genies. As far as I can tell, you can also call them angels too. That are kind of deciding, when the world gets 8 billion, just kind of reset kind of thing. And then it kind of went into more personalized characters in here that are obviously significant throughout the rest of the story and what their role is. And one of them being immortal because they're really a genie. Yada, yada, yada. I thought this was weird. Like, I, I don't know at this point if I want to go back and bother reading the other issues of this or if I even find them interesting at this point. I just thought it was a weird story. I'm not sure what the hype of this was. So definitely, this is me reaching out to you, the community, and let me know what the hype was. So that's it for my haul and review this week. Don't forget the Comic Book Community Awards are happening. Link down in the description below. Your YouTuber that you watch, whoever it is, they work hard at this. They're on a schedule. Like, they put in the work here, and like, there's very little reward on the back end of this kind of stuff. You genuinely do it because it's something that you're passionate about. So if you get a chance, definitely head on over to the website, vote up your YouTuber, comic book YouTuber that you watch. There's several categories. Definitely just take a look. I know the guys behind the scenes work very hard on this for people, and it is expensive at the end of the day. So, if you can get a t-shirt or something, or if you want to help donate, or if you just want to be part of it, definitely check it out. And don't forget about Coffee Brand Coffee. Again, that was a satirical ad at the beginning. I was kind of worried about promoting that. Just kind of making fun of today of 2023. I have no opinion on Bud Light. I make way too much money to be drinking Bud Light. I'm just saying it. But other than that, guys, I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.